Welcome to V Infinity,
The podcast where we talk.
and you listen.
We're your hosts, Ashley.
And Tori.
And today we have a very kind of interesting topic. So, us girls like a man that's kind of a little rough around the edges. So, my
Mhm.
question is, why do good girls like bad guys?
Hmm. Hmm. That's an interesting topic. Why do good girls like bad guys? What is it that they're? Are we seeking something? Are we hiding something?
I just know, like, physically, it's always that the guy that's a little rough around the edges, it's something about him that makes him more attractive. So I don't know if it's like for seeking, maybe we are seeking out, like someone that we feel can protect us or guard us or um, be a macho figure in our life. And I'm speaking on like just physically, not someone that is um bad emotionally, if you know what I mean. Like
Uh-huh.
we have those types that look a little rough. We have the Grease. The girls was always in the movie was always after the guy with the leather jacket that looked kind of a little
Uh-huh.
rough.
Uh-huh.
But at the same time, we we tend to put the nice guy to the side. So what do you feel, or do you have like an opinion on that from your perspective?
Um, I think before I even get to my opinion on things, I think I want to process what that actually looks like. What does that bad guy um in terms of the movies or whatever, the way it looks in the movies, but just kind of processing what that looks like, or even thinking back on scenarios where I feel like I've known people who chose one situation over another, um, based on that perception. And um, I don't know if it was because the experiences that she might be different with the good guy versus the experiences she might have
So
with
maybe
the
like
bad
some
guy.
so maybe like some opportunities to kind of get into something adventurous.
Sure,
So
you
thinking that you may have more excitement
know.
as
Absolutely.
opposed to, like a guy that's nice and he's not gonna get you out there and get you in trouble in some kind of way. Good trouble,
Sure.
not bad trouble.
Right. Because that good guy, he, I don't know, it may be a bit, he might be a bit more reserved, a bit more conservative. He might have more conservative views as opposed to the bad guy who's just kind of like going with the flow, and we're just gonna, um, hit the streets and take life by storm. Her experiences may have even been limited up to that point. This good girl may have had some restrictions, or a lot of structure coming up, and now this is her opportunity to take a ride on the wild side. You know what I'm saying? And maybe there's some peer pressure in there, or maybe she just wants to, he might be her access into another
Okay.
world. I
Mhm.
don't know.
And then I can see a little bit of like rebellious too. So if she hasn't had those experiences, she's been sheltered or she's grew up or been around a certain situation to where she's never had the opportunity to. So the experiences
Don't
around
even
that
know how to
can,
get to it. I don't even know how to get to
yeah.
that.
Yeah. Or people around
How
her
to get on
like,
that side.
you can't be around him. He's no good for you.
He's
He's
no good for you.
terrible.
And
So
there's nothing in your future, that he's not compatible for your future.
And then so what that ends up doing is kind of pushing her into the arms of this bad guy per se.
Sure, sure. Because if anything, she may have um had challenges with, prior, was the lack of control.
Uh-huh.
So now I can control this narrative. I can control this situation. And speaking of controlling, if I'm looking for, that opportunity to be the victim, or if like I can control, I may be able to control this narrative in terms of, if it doesn't go according to the way I wanted it to go, for the sake of me, being able to save my face for others, I'm gonna just scream victim.
So playing the victim and making the bad guy out to be the villain in the situation, she gets the chance to escape because she's still seen as a good girl because she did choose a bad guy. It's the opportunity for her to kind of get away with not being the bad person if it don't work out, like versus dating a good guy. So if a girl is dating a good guy, she's a good girl, things don't work out and she wants an out from it, instead of being able to play the victim because everybody knows he's a good guy, she has to be the one that is a heartbreaker or ends things, and then she ends up being a villain in the situation. But she gets the chance to date bad guys. It always puts her in a position to gain the attention, to be victimized, to have the shoulder to lean on, to always cry, why do guys do me like this? But
Why does this
ultimately
keep happening to me?
well, ultimately she's doing it to put herself in a better light.
Yeah. And she might be addicted to that thrill.
Oh yeah. That up and down, that or addicted to that heartbreak. Maybe she hasn't healed. Maybe
Addicted to
she's
heartbreak.
yeah. Or the attention that it gives her because she's
Mm-hmm.
able to get people running to her aid, or that white knight situation.
Especially, in those "I told you so" type of situations. Girl, you too good for him. Don't put yourself through that. You deserve better. He's not good enough for you. But I want to prove, or she wants to prove to others, that she's made a good decision. She's capable of making these decisions on her own and choosing her own man, and she knows what's best for her and what she needs in her life, and he's good for her. When it all
But she
goes
keeps choosing
sour.
these bad guys. But she keeps choosing. I said, but she keeps choosing these bad guys. So how are any of those situations good for her?
Well, it depends on how she's perceiving it, because obviously, that's the other thing, is you don't know him like I do. He's not like that. You don't know him like I do. No, he doesn't do that anymore. No, he's not seeing her anymore. No, he doesn't get into that kind of trouble anymore. He doesn't hang with them anymore. He doesn't sell that anymore. He doesn't do those things anymore. He's changed.
So I don't know, as we were talking through this topic, like, it's making me think of kind of like a Rihanna and Chris Brown situation. So like everybody looked at Rihanna like she was the victim in the situation. And I'm not saying she wasn't.
In which we don't know, right?
Yeah, we don't know. And of
Right.
course, any man putting their hands on a woman is just wrong, period. There's
Hello.
no excuse for it.
Disgusting.
But as I, thought through the situation, as things pass, as they've grown to, I wouldn't say be friends, but as the situation continued, I do kind of feel like Chris was kind of put in the villain situation or the villain position. And as a bad guy, because, of course, he's been labeled as a bad guy in the entertainment industry, he tends to go after or be with good girls. I mean, even now to Karrueche, everyone looked at her as if she was the ultimate good girl. But he's been painted as a bad guy. So do you think there could have been a little bit of victim, villain type vibe from Chris and Rihanna, similar to what we're talking about now?
I think they both had a share in victim villain behavior. I think the part that kind of stuck with people the most, obviously, that left the disgusting taste in people's mouths, was the fact that it did become physical. And I don't obviously I don't condone physical behavior on the woman's side or the man's side. Like, I'm all about keep hands to yourself, period, point blank. You know what I'm saying? If we've come to that point where we have to become physical with someone else of whom we don't own, because we don't own nobody.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
You need to completely take yourself out of it.
it's obviously exactly, let's go ahead on and remove ourselves if we can, if this isn't a I control you type situation. But I think in that situation, I think that it had just become a mutually toxic situation.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the perception weighed heavier on Chris because it had become physical. But we also talked about Bobby and Whitney. I think that I can kind of, because that relationship was it appeared to be non-violent. I can't say that it was non-abusive, but it appeared to be non-violent. I feel like I would be able to weigh in on that one a little bit more than Rihanna and Chris Brown's. Mainly because I felt, we kind of watched, which we watched Rihanna come from what appeared to be a good girl.
Persona, yeah. Yeah, she came out in her teens.
But for Whitney, the fact that she clearly married, what appeared to be a bad boy.
I mean, he told everyone he was a bad boy. Like, that was his persona that made him money. Bobby was a bad boy.
It seemed like the world was opposed to that union.
Right?
And then we watched it become destructive.
Yeah.
Down to Whitney's demise.
Right.
And
but in that situation, do you feel like Whitney was a victim? When we were talking about both becoming toxic, or I think being a victim in the Chris Brown and Rihanna situation, playing victim is a toxic situation. I've never thought about Whitney as a victim. I do think that she was equally responsible for some of the things that went on in her and Bobby's life. I do think she carried a lot of responsibility in that situation. Mainly because I feel like
gave her a way out. I think people let her off the hook.
I do too. But I don't think she played the victim. I think people applied victim to her. I think that she actually was a victim, like not a victim of her relationship with Bobby, but a victim of her life.
Not being able to live it
right.
The way she openly, the way she desired.
Right. A lot of people don't realize, but Whitney was an introvert. She struggled with mental illness in some ways, and from a standpoint of being in a relationship with someone that is complete opposite of those, and Absolutely. Then you're in the limelight because you are a mega star, it can push you into situations where you are you're using drugs, you're compensating or making up or self-medicating or numbing whatever pains that you are receiving in life.
But from a victim.
Right. She became a victim. Mm-hmm. And I think that she had a responsibility to herself, her daughter, to seek help, and maybe it wasn't enough. Maybe she didn't have the support system around her because of her lifestyle with her husband.
Sure, her own challenges.
Mm-hmm.
I can see that. Definitely interesting conversation.
I think it deserved more thought. So we what do you think about women playing victim? Feel free to let us know. Hit us up at any time on Twitter or on Instagram at Be Infinity. Thank you for listening.
Thanks for tuning in.